things. First of all, I'm sorry, I got to move you guys over a little bit so I can see my writing. All of you have shared and are feeling, and again, Dorothy shared, we're all at different places, but our schools are busy. They're in the middle of these continuity learning plans and remote learning and trying to figure it all out. And some are not ready to work with us on the HIL deliverables. And so we've also heard from parents that are just like overwhelmed with all these resources and clickable links and everything and what to do. And that's exhausting. We ourselves are worried about the COVID-19 slide and ensuring that our students continue to be engaged and curious learners. And so we wondered, what could we as a HIL project do? And what we know is that the number one teacher of our children are the parents. And so our thought was that we could go ahead, Dorothy, and think about this. How could we support our HIL schools and their parents by providing ways to build expressive language and family talk? How could we give simple ways and strategies and behaviors to integrate reading into their home life? And then how can we stimulate creative thinking and provide students opportunities to write? So the simplicity part here was to have an opportunity to think of, as you delved into the research and other items, what are the simple strategies or behaviors that any parent could do with their child with anything they have at home? In your resource folder is a kind of at-home learning piece from the National P3 Center out of Denver. This clickable link will be on here, and the article's in there. But I want you to use this filter today as you're thinking about the work you did and the documents you put together with the different resources and thoughts you had. And here's what they tell us. First of all, Dorothy, thank you. This quote from the Center of Developing Child in 2020, and if we had unstable homes and the lack of affordable childcare and meeting families' basic needs from paycheck to paycheck, unstable housing, food insecurity, social isolation, we had all of those things before. So now in this pandemic, you know, it's maximized to the max. And in fact, people who weren't experiencing these things are now experiencing them. So we know that CPS amounts are down because kids aren't in school and we're not able to connect with them in some ways. We know there will be increased rates of substance abuse, violence, and mental health problems. So what the P3 Center gave as some good background things to think about are these fundamentals that our at-home teaching and learning should focus on. Number one, child development, that we're grounded in relationships, we're grounded in social emotional development. So as you're thinking about the activities or behaviors that you want parents to perhaps do, keep thinking about how are these paired relationships. These are not individual things that kids are doing on their own, filling out a worksheet or something, but what are the activities where people are talking and working together? They also suggested that we must emphasize active experiential learning. If you go back one for me, please, Dorothy, thanks. And you and I both know that children learn best when they're active and engaged. So these take-home sheets may seem like a logical default option, but we've got to continue to think of ways that they're creative, experiential, and keep children in motion. Just the other day, my neighbor, who is a first grader, was writing some words out on the street with the EA blends, and she's stomping on them, and she's talking about team and learn and spelling them and doing those things. So as you think about the activities that you're calling and doing today, how are they active? How are they experiential as you move forward? The second fundamental piece that they want to have us keep in mind is this idea of equity, remembering that not everybody has connectivity. They don't have devices. And in some situations, some people might only have one device that they're sharing. And we know that not all parents or caregivers can devote the same amount of time to support student learning. And it's not that they don't want to, They might be working, they might have something else going on. And so we have to stay grounded in what's happening in that home. So we really have to continue to think about how do we not add to the stress, and we also think about ensuring, looking for resources for emergency childcare, healthcare, mental health support, all those pieces that could be happening right in the home. I think it was the Sonia last week who shared with us that this is a different time for teachers, because now parents are sitting in the room being invited into the classroom, aren't they? So they're hearing how teachers are talking to their children and teaching them and doing things of that nature. But we're also being invited to the home, where we might be seeing what's happening there, and what sounds and what's occurring as well. So we're both learning from each other, aren't we? A couple other things to keep in mind as you are thinking about these strategies or activities that we're thinking about putting together in an infographic is, how are we using the assets of multilingual English language learners? So perhaps thinking about, how could this be adapted for English language learners? And if anything, you think about how we teach English language learners, that's a huge strength regarding tapping into how we actually teach kids that are ELL, and we can use those strategies as well. Finally, they suggest that we've got to think about those kids who have IEPs. So think about, how could we take a look at these strategies to be adapted to ensure equal access, so the same opportunities could happen for the general ed population.